ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೇ, so those who are preparing for the first PU annual examinations in almost all colleges, first PU syllabus is completed, and I think in some colleges series exams are going on, and in some colleges students are directly preparing for the annual examination. So especially in biology, it's not at all difficult to compare to last year. This year it's very easy to score very good marks in theory examination. So because you will get more number of questions, so we can easily score very good marks in biology theory examination. So if you are perfect at least 15 chapters out of 22 chapters, there are totally 22 chapters are there. At least if you prepare on 15 chapters, that's enough to score very good marks. So if you are facing any difficulties in some chapters, you just leave that chapters and prepare remaining chapters, then automatically you will get very good marks. So particularly this year you may get more or less 25 to 30 marks for diagrams, especially some chapters having very important diagrams, so particularly in animal physiology. So for example, in digestive system is there, that is usually asked for the 5 marks question, and after that elementary canal, transverse section of the elementary canal, so that is maybe asked for the 3 marks questions. And in respiration, human respiratory system, that is also asked for the 5 marks question. And in excretion chapter, they will ask about the human excretory system, that is also very good, very important diagram. And heart, so heart diagram also usually ask for the 5 marks question. Then in locomotion chapter, usually they will ask about the joints as well as the skeletal system. Usually that diagram will not ask, but sliding filament theory, that is very important for the 5 marks question. So like that in nervous system, here neuron diagram is there as well as the brain diagram. These two are very important for the 5 marks question. Then also in chemical coordination and integration chapter, almost all here 1 mark 2 mark question arises, because almost all they mentioned about the hormones and their functions, and which gland secrete which hormones, like that question is arises. That is a very important chapter for second PU also. So if you are perfect the chemical coordination and integration chapter, then it may help you second PU also. So don't leave any chapters in these animal physiology. Okay, then we come to that the plant physiology. In plant physiology, especially transport in plants as well as the minerals in plants. So these two chapters are very less weightage is there, especially mineral nutrition. If you are facing difficulties or any confusions in minerals functions, so you just leave that. At least if you prepare the nitrogen cycle, that nitrogen cycle is very important for the 5 marks question. Sometimes they will ask about only schematic representation, or very rarely they ask about the explanation. So thoroughly prepare that nitrogen cycle, and as well as the nodal formation in particularly in dicotyledonous plants. So that is also asked for the 5 marks question. So that is very easy, you can easily prepare that one. Then we come to that the photosynthesis as well as the respiration plant, and as well as the plant growth and development. So these 3 chapters are very important, so don't miss these chapters. So particularly in photosynthesis, they may be asked about the C3 cycle, C4 cycle. So these are very important for the 5 marks question. So usually C3 cycle explanation ಕೇಳೋದು ಭಾಳ ಕಡಿಮೆ. Almost all they will ask about the cycles only. So we have to prepare that cycles and their enzymes and their functions. So that is very important. Then in respiration also, glycolysis very important. So glycolysis as well as the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle, as well as the amphiboolic pathway, these are very important for the 5 marks question. Then lastly they will ask about the RQ value. So what is RQ value? Mention the RQ value of carbohydrate or protein or lipid. They may be asked for the 2 marks question. Then in plant growth and development, usually they will ask about the functions of the auxins, gibberellic acid or abscisic acid or ethylene. So at least you have to perfect the 5 important functions, so that's enough. So then we come to that the vernalization, photoperiodism. Photoperiodism, usually they will ask about the 3 marks questions. So mention the types of photoperiodism or give the suitable example for the long day plants, short day plants. So like that question is arises. So that definition is also very important for the theory examination. even pilotaxy. So these all are the very important definitions. So even if you prepare only 3 chapters in plant physiology, that's enough. Then we come to that we come to that the first chapter, living world. So almost all you are already perfect about that, because since first P only that is only started, so it's not at all difficult to only binomial nomenclature rules are there, and maybe they will ask about the systemic writing of the or hierarchical writing of the man or housefly. So they may be asked for the 1 mark or 2 marks questions, or they will ask about the scientific names of the man or housefly. So like that question is arises. Then we come to that they may be asked with short notes about the botanical gardens or zoological parks. These all are completely general points only. Then biological classifications, there is no weightage for this chapter, only hardly 2 or 3 marks question arises. So in that you have to prepare about the R.H. Whittaker classification, merits and demerits, or very rarely they will ask about the here fungi characters, like that question is arises, or virus diagram is there. Virus ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟೊಬ್ಯಾಕೊ ಮೊಸೈಕ್ ವೈರಸ್ಸು ಮತ್ತು T4 ವೈರಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತದೆ, T4 ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯೋಫೇಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಅದೊಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಆ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನ ಸ್ಕೋರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. So the next we come to the third and fourth chapter, plant kingdom and animal kingdom. So in plant kingdom usually they will ask about the 5 marks questions. So explain the characters of the bryophytes or pteridophytes, or they may be asked about the classification of the bryophytes. So in that particular they will ask about the mosses. So they like that question is arises. Then in gymnosperms general characters, that will ask for the 5 marks question. Then in fourth chapter, animal kingdom. So in animal kingdom almost all Annelida, Porifera, then Arthropoda, usually these are asked for the 5 marks questions, general characters. So remaining phylums they will ask about the 3 mark or 2 marks questions. So write any 2 general important characters of the Platyhelminthes or Aschelminthes, like that question is arises. But almost all Porifera, Annelida, Arthropoda, these are very important. Then we come to the difference between the chordate and non-chordate, and chondrichthysis and ostricthysis difference. These will usually ask for the 5 marks question. So I hope you already know this, because the first term only these all are completed, and in midterm also almost all colleges they conducted the exams on these chapters. So then next we come to the fifth chapter. Fifth chapter is very important for all theory and competitive examination. Here almost all pilotaxy is there, then placentation is there, estivation is there, and as well as the families are there, 3 families. Usually that in that 3 families they will ask about the plural formula, plural diagrams. So we can easily prepare about that, and even diagrams also, particularly here estivation, placentation, the diagrams are very important. Then next we come to the 6th chapter. So 6th chapter, as much as possible you have to prepare the diagrams, particularly here monocot root, dicot root, monocot stem, dicot stem, leaves, as well as the secondary growth. So these all are very important. Usually explanation is very rare. They may be asked about the difference between the monocot root or stem, dicot stem. So like that differences arises, or they will ask about the diagrams. Draw a neat label diagram of the monocot root, dicot root. Don't confuse about that. In monocot root only 6 to 8 vascular bundles are there, but in dicot it is different. So you have to concentrate and draw very neatly. Then next we come to the 7th chapter. If you are facing difficulties in this chapter, particularly here cockroach or earthworm or frog, so here variety diagrams are there. If you are facing difficulty, just leave it. So because here only hardly 5 to 6 marks question is arises, you can easily take that, you can easily obtain good marks in other chapters. So just leave this chapter. Then we can next we come to the 8th chapter. So that is the cell, the unit of life. That is very important chapter. Particularly here 5 marks question is explain the or describe the structure of nucleus, or describe structure of mitochondria, chloroplast, or explain the types of chromosomes. These usually ask for the 5 marks question. So remaining almost all they will ask about the 2 marks questions. So like write the difference between the SER, RER, means rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So, and as well as they mentioned the functions of Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes. So, these functions will ask for the 2 or 3 marks question. Along with that, you have to prepare the plant cell and animal cell. Almost all ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ high school section ಕಲ್ತಿರ್ತೀರಿ ನೀವು. So, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ plant cell and animal cells usually they will ask about the 5 marks question. Then in 9th chapter, again if you are facing the difficulties in 9th chapter, that is biomolecules, just leave it. So, at least you have to prepare the classification of enzymes. So, that is very important. So, usually that is asked for the 5 marks questions or 1 mark questions like that, cofactors, coenzymes. So, that is question arises. So, remaining points you just leave it, carbohydrate, proteins, lipids, or if you are very easy, those who are preparing for the competitive exams, you can prepare it, or else if you are facing difficulties, you just leave that biomolecules chapter. Then 10th chapter, so that is cell cycle and cell division. So, you have to prepare about the mitosis, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Particularly in meiosis 1, they will ask about the prophase 1, because in prophase 1 again 5 substages are there. So, like leptotin, zygotin, pazotin. So, these all are very important. Along with that, you have to practice the diagrams, because if they ask explain the metaphase or anaphase of the mitosis, you have to draw and explain. Without diagram, you can't explain. Even if you are explain, you will not get the marks for that. So, you have to prepare the diagrams also. Okay. So, at least if you are facing very difficult to get 21 marks, then at least you have to prepare the starting 6th chapter. So, you can easily score more than 40 marks. Clear? So, wish you all the very best for your annual examination. Do well.